This is the last video of the series, and these last 4 puzzles are a little bit harder. These puzzles are mate in 2 for white, and that means that white makes a move, and then whatever move black plays, white gives checkmate on the next move. This is the first step to thinking ahead. If you want to improve at chess, you need to be able to think ahead and make plans. But isn't it hard enough to work out what you're going to do next? How can you possibly work out what your opponent is going to do next? Practice will help, and the easiest time to think ahead is when you give check. Because if you give check, your opponent has to get out of check, and so there aren't so many choices you have to think about. So I'm going to give you a bit of help. In each of these mate in 2 puzzles, white gives check, black moves out of check, and then white gives checkmate. OK, here's the first puzzle, and the first thing to notice is the missing black pawns. The black king is now open to attack from a couple of directions. Now black has 3 pieces that can block an attack along the e-file, but nothing to block check along this diagonal. So if we give check along this diagonal, let's imagine moving our queen here. How would black get out of check? Remember, you have to work this out in your head. No piece can block, so the black king would have to move out of check to e7. OK, so now you have to think in your head. If I move my queen to h5, it's check. Then the black king has to move to e7. In your head, you picture where the pieces would be. And then you have to work out what move you would play next. So see if you can work it out. OK, what did you come up with? Did you realise that when the black king moves to e7, then these black pieces can't block check along the e-file anymore? So let's go back and put all of these clues together. The only possible escape square is guarded by the bishop. Right, let's take a look at this position. The black king has been forced out into the middle of the battlefield. Not a good place to be so early in the game. And with the white queen guarding these 2 squares, there's no way back to safety. So let's see if we can give check with another piece. Obviously we can give check with the queen, but can you spot any other white pieces that can give check? The only other way for white to give check is this knight check. Now try to work out how black will get out of this check. As we know, the queen covers these 2 squares, and the white pawns cover these 3 squares. So the only possible move for black is moving the king to c6. And then what would white play next? Remember, you have to work this out in your head. You can't move the pieces around on the board to see what might happen. And you can't colour squares or draw arrows on the board either. So have a good look at the board. Pause the video here if you like. The queen covers most of the squares, and it can't be taken because it is defended by a pawn. And the knight helps too. OK, 2 down, 2 to go. Let's have a look what's going on here. Well, one thing to notice is that the black king is blocked by some friendly pieces, so the only breathing space is on the f-file. That should make our job easier. What else is there to notice? We have a menacing rook. And perhaps you spotted that our bishop would be attacking the black king if the knight moved out of the way. So can we find a dangerous place to move it? Here are the possibilities, and one of them is obviously better than the others, because it would be double check, and both the knight and rook would be attacking e8. Well, the best thing about double check is that there's only one way out. The king has to move. The black king would have to move to f8. Remember, all this thinking has to go on inside your head. Last puzzle, and there seem to be lots of black pieces near the king, so we'll have to be careful where we put our pieces. Black still has a queen, so if the black king can escape to b8, then black should win. There is a way we can stop that from happening though. Can you spot it? Did you spot that the bishop and knight are both attacking the d6 pawn? If we take the pawn with the bishop, it will be check, and the black king won't be able to move to b8. Can you work out where it will have to move? It will have to move to d7. Then what could white play? Did you notice that with the bishop on d6, both the bishop and rook would attack e7? Remember, all this thinking has to go on inside your head. No highlighted squares, no arrows. Hard work, but well done if you worked out the answers to those puzzles.